Okay, guys, thank you so much. My name is Felipe Pires. I'm one of the members of the core team here at Red Team Village, primarily director of the sponsors. In other words, I'm responsible for helping our sponsor, first of all. And like, I would like to say thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you guys on board again as another year. And thank you so much for supporting us, supporting our village. And so just please introduce yourself and describe what you are doing at the White Knife Labs.
My name is Greg Hatcher. I was born in the mid 80s on a cold Tuesday morning in the winter. My background is a mix of Army Special Operations. I was a Green Beret at 5th Group for about 7 years, 4 combat deployments, got out in 2017, went right into like offensive cyber, did that for a while. I met John at VDA Labs, which is another boutique offensive shop located here in West Michigan. After that, I went over to 6th Gen. I was a federal contractor for CISA and the NSA. And after that, we started WKL. And before we get into the company, I'll let John intro himself.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Greg. Hey, guys, here, John Segerwalt. So pretty interesting background. I mean, if you've been on my trainings or our trainings, you've probably heard this same spiel 1,000 times. So started at 17, can't be hacker at 17, right? And started as IT help desk, working with the ranks, junior admin, CISO, security lead, blah, blah. Then went to pen testing and then went to red teaming and found my passion, found my calling. It's exactly what I love to do, breaking down virtual barriers and walls and, making people do certain things they shouldn't do. So it's super fun, super, exciting times, So yeah, thanks for having us back. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much again. And it's always a pleasure to have you here and learn from you. So it's awesome. And talking about learning and about red teaming. So my question basically is how the red team impacting actually White Knife Labs, and on the other idea is how White Knife Labs industry sector, how those type of things are working together, like is the impact for the red team and White Knife Labs, not how they born in this field, or how they creating or helping or even leading the industry in the red team perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that our culture here at White Knight Labs is very conducive to doing full scope red team operations. So just like a military special operations unit is comprised of multiple subject matter experts that are very deep in their field, that's how WKL is comprised as well. So for instance, on a special forces team, there's the medic who goes to almost like medical school for 2 years. I was a communicator, so 18 Echo was my MOS. I knew all about cryptography, radio waves, routing, switching. So when we're scoping a full scope red team engagement, there's typically a physical penetration test or a physical access operation. There's typically an AppSec piece, initial access. There might be an embedded component, a cloud infrastructure piece. So what we do is we tap into all those separate teams at WKL and we build a team to take down. I don't want to say like take down a company, but it's kind of like that, as opposed to like 1 or 2 engineers that they're trying to like write the payload for initial access. They're trying to attack cloud infrastructure, so they're spreading their knowledge base like super thin. Where I can bring in like Chirag Savo, Ronak Parmar, where they have multiple O days in Azure, and they can they're one of the top Azure engineers on the planet, or bring in Mark, who can attack like any AppSec or Kubernetes environment, and he's very deep in that domain. So that's how we run our red team operations. And I'm sure like John has like 5 minutes to talk about that.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So if we talk about the market, so talk about the team, team of teams, right? Very unique. We all bring a certain skill set to the table. As you guys know, malware bypassing, C2, CDNs, all that kind of stuff. That's my area, right? I love that kind of stuff. But if we talk about the market, the US market is very fragile and very unique when it comes to red teaming. We all know that every company in the world uses the term red team. What does that really mean, right? It's a true covert operation to test, TTPs or some kind of detection capabilities of that company, of their SOC team, MDR, or whatever. We don't care what products in there. We're vendor neutral. We're going to test them all. We've beaten everybody in the game. It doesn't really matter. We've gone up against every EDR, every EDR in question. You guys know we've done it all. But what does red teaming look for our company? And that's the most important question. Of course, we do the full-fledged red teams. That's 8 weeks, 6 weeks, blah, blah, blah. We do the phishing, smishing, doesn't matter, right? From start to finish, that's a full red team. Those are not as popular anymore. as the market's been changing and shifting over the last few years. We've now seen the market come over to such as we call them mini red teams, or we label them as insider threat assessments. And that's basically seeded access, assumed point of breach, starting from a compromised user. The company will ship us a laptop, and then we'll start from that point of view with a Cobalt Strike beacon. It could be Havoc, whatever, it doesn't matter, whatever the customer wants. We're a Cobalt Strike shop, of course. And then we'll start from that point of view or that context. We'll work our way up to objectives. All the insider threat assessments, the red teams, many red teams, whatever you want to call them for us, they're all objective based. Getting domain admin, it's not really a primary objective. I call that secondary, third, fourth, fifth on the list. Our goal is to cripple the business to the knees. If I was a real ATP group, how would I take the business down? I want to stop revenue generation, and I want to take their data. So how would I do that? And those are the most important questions we have when it comes to our red teams. We truly simulate what an advanced attacker would do. Every part of the red team lifecycle for us is our own custom software. Of course, we're not reinventing the wheel, but we're adding on to the wheel to make it very custom to what a WKL red team, insider threat, mini red team, purple team would actually look like, and give the customer a true value. And that's kind of the shift that we've taken in the market to really make us very unique.
And the interesting thing is, like as I'm saying to you before the recording, so I'm Brazilian and I'm based here in Portugal, and sometimes I'm based in US as well. And so there are kind of questions that I'm hearing in Brazil and in Europe as well, and some confusion about, the pen testing and red team, those difference, and then vulnerability assessment as well. So many companies are doing vulnerability assessment and they are selling as a red team, but we know that it's not the same. So what is the change that red team for White Knight Labs in terms of the effect of the perception of the red team practices? What do you think about that, guys?
Felipe, that's a great question. So what are the first things that I'm trying to get a sense of when I'm speaking with a client during a scoping call is what is their maturity level when it comes to security? So there's a hierarchy of security maturity. If you think of like a triangle, the base would be, are they doing like asset inventory for software and hardware? Do they know it's on the network? Do they know it's installed on their endpoints? The next layer up in the pyramid would be vulnerability scanning. Are they at least doing weekly or monthly vulnerability scanning internally? After that, if they're doing both of those things, they're probably ready for a penetration test. So say that they've been pen tested for 4 or 5 years. There's no longer any for like high or critical vulnerabilities on their penetration test reports. They're probably ready for a red team. So most companies they think they're ready for a red team, but if they're not running like a top tier EDR, if they don't have an MDR, there's no one watching the network, they're not really ready for a red team. So most companies are right in that penetration test range, where a penetration test is a time boxed offensive engagement. There's we're using about 20% automation, 80% of it is manual. We're still trying to get the proprietary information in their data, but mostly it's focused around getting domain admin, escalating privileges, finding attack paths in Active Directory, and more along those lines. But red team is much more mission focused, like John was talking about.
Yeah. I would say to add on to that, one of my favorite things to do is when we'll sell a ransom simulation, and that right there tells me everything about the client. It's hilarious. And you learn so much doing a ransom simulation from a client engagement where they're ready for a red team or not, right? For example, our ransom simulation is very custom, very unique. If the client's ever used this before, they know that we're not messing around. It's a game over kind of simulation. And what that means is they give us a laptop. I want the full security stack on there. I want the most locked down laptop because my goal is to prove that they have gaps. Security comes in layers. I mean, we need to ensure the layers are properly there, in the right layered, stack. So of course we bypass EDR. Guys, it doesn't matter what it is. It's a bypass all day. Sure, that doesn't matter, right? That's a selling point, of course, but what happens after the fact? We get a C2 beacon. We reach out through Azure, CloudFront, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. You'll find some gap through the firewall. And then we run a .NET payload in memory. We still, it's 2025, but we still do this today. They set up a dummy share, and boom, we encrypt it. And guess what? We're using a custom encryption that the EDR, the MDR, the SOC team, Halcyon, whatever vendor is up there that says they can block ransomware has never seen before. And that if I'm going dark, if I'm going black hat hacker and I'm taking over the world, I'm going to write something someone's never seen before. And that's what we do. We write something custom. We want them to fail because the goal is to prove them that they do not have the proper security in place to actually block a real ATP. EDRs, MDRs, they're all based on no. And that right there tells me is, hey, if I can run a .exe on their payload, guess what? They don't have ASR rules in place with Windows Defender. They're not using WDAC. They're not using CS benchmarks. blah 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 blah. Hey, and then like the file shares, oh, they don't have DLP turned on, they don't have write protection. It just the list goes on. So that right there tells me if they're ready for a red team or not. And 99% of clients today are not ready for a red team. They think they are, but they're not. They probably need another more advanced pen test with a very driven objective based. So the term red team is abused and used by many people who really don't understand what it truly is.
Yeah, and what's interesting about what John just said, he mentioned a couple of products like Halcyon, Black Fog, EDR products. A lot of these vendors, we will find bypasses, but then we will actually work with the vendor after the fact. Like our aim is never to be adversarial. Our aim is to help the industry get better as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I have a friend that they found a company in Brazil, and they created a specifically, let's say, talk for some events, and the talk is don't simulate the threat, be the threat. And it's an interesting part, like, so how you can explore those environments, but using the same techniques that an attacker are using. And sometimes it's not like the unknown things or super, let's say, the 0 day or something like this. It's just that they fail in the business logic, and you can explore something like this in different companies. Mm-hmm. And based on this, on that, how or what is the vision, the security vision of the White Knight Labs in terms of the lead the market and shift the industry, when we are discussing right now about those kind of failure of concept? Many companies are still using like the vulnerability assessment and other things. So how what is the vision of the White Knight Labs about that?
Everybody talk at once.
I can answer if you want.
I would say our vision for the future is, there obviously, like, AI is the buzzword. So what we're doing right now, we're building a framework that is going to automate a lot of LLM agent attacks. So you've heard of the MITRE ATT&CK framework, obviously. There's also the MITRE Atlas framework, which is basically, you can go to, like, I think it's atlas.mitre.com, and it has all the LLM agent attacks that you can conduct against like an LLM if you want to roll it yourself. But we're automating that process. So if you wanted to do like a grandma attack or like a prompt injection attack, you could do that against your LLM. That way, this sort of like, it's almost like a sys benchmark baseline of security for LLM agents. But that's going to be coming pretty soon, like probably within the next month. So
yeah. And then the tie on to that, of course, where do we see ourselves leading? We still want to lead, the industry into the correct red team market, right? As you guys know, we have hundreds of companies that reach out to us and they want a red team, but they really don't want a red team. They really just want an advanced pen test or some kind of things that run those lines. Our goal at the end of the day is to give the gold standard of testing to all of our clients. It doesn't matter what they need, right? And that's kind of the vision, is, helping everybody get empowered to be secure themselves. Like, for example, ASR rules. It's free. Just need enterprise licensing. Most clients have enterprise licensing. Everybody has a mindset, let's go buy a third-party piece of software. Hey, you don't need it. You can do it with a group policy object right here. Save yourself thousands of dollars. So, they just need to train the right way. They need that thought, the pathology behind it, the testing, So we're here to help them. So, and that's this true vision, right? Really protect clients, help them out.
Yeah, that's interesting when you mentioned something about AI, Greg. So in terms of the AI perspective, as you said, so many companies, of course, are looking to that. And so how, like the White Knight Labs are leveraging the AI, for example, using the red team operations, how they are, innovating this kind of approach, or you guys are using some AIs to do something or not? So how
absolutely
are using right now?
Yeah, so we actually used an AI-based SaaS tool called 3Flatline. The developer is like works internally at WKL. So whenever we want a feature, we're just like, hey, Aaron, go do this. Add this to the tool. It's really convenient. But 3Flatline is awesome because, say you just like give it a bunch of C code, it'll go through it and they'll be like, hey, this is a use after 3 free, this is a double free, off by 1. And it doesn't stop there. It actually will build a proof of concept to exploit that vulnerability. So whether or not that POC works, it's like 50-50. But as opposed to a Veracode, where it's just like, hey, we think there's a vulnerability here, but they're all hypothetical vulnerabilities, 3Flatline will actually build the POC to go exploit that vulnerability. It can't build harnesses. That's the one thing that it can't do yet, but we're working on it.
And to tie onto that, like more of the red team side of the house, right? We have very strict policy and guidelines in using AI around our tools right now because obviously it's not very secure. So AI, for example, like building code with Cruiser, or what are we calling it, vibe coding nowadays, whatever terminology you want to use.
Sorry.
So we're all vibe coding to a degree. I mean, obviously, as you guys, anybody listening to this, if you vibe coded, or coded with AI in some fashion, I love Cruiser. Like it has increased my programming by 50% faster, more efficient, right? Where I can just, replay multiple modules and functions back and forth all the time. It's really, really, really simple. It's getting better by the day. So that's definitely something that I've seen the team leverage and use. Just there's no client code, no confidential data across any of those AIs. So that's the strict rule.
Oh, that's nice. And how about the opportunities or challenge, like automation or even like ethical things, or like how do you guys are seeing the market? This kind of conflict about, okay, I should use AI, I don't should use AI, or because like for us technical guys, usually we like to use something like to clean the code sometimes, but like for the other perspective, for the people team, let's say the HR team or the talent acquisition team or like financial team, they like to using to propose anything, or the liar team, not liar, but the lawyers, and they like to using to propose something, and sometimes they put in the like the data inside of
the critical data.
AI.
Yeah,
Exactly. So how do
Yeah.
you see in the market this kind of things, the privacy and whatever?
That's a great question. We had a healthcare company approach us about 3 months ago, and they want us to do a Copilot penetration test to see if internal employees could access information in like SharePoint and OneDrive that they weren't supposed to have access to. And there was one problem. The company didn't have Purview enabled, and none of the data was categorized. So it was like, okay, we can do this assessment, but we'll still have access to almost everything. So we're not really testing Copilot because you didn't do like the basic 101 things of actually categorizing your data and locking it down. So it's kind of like the cart before the horse, like John was talking about. Like some companies think they're ready for a red team, but what they're actually like farther down on the pyramid, and they just need like a penetration test or actually to categorize their data.
I will say, I've seen every company that's leveraged AI has reached out for testing, and yes, it is confirmed they throw all the data into the AI, 100%. Sometimes they will mask it or hide it, but sometimes it's mostly implemented incorrectly. They're just trying to get up a leg on their competitors, or they're trying to match competitors with AI because everybody's stuck on this AI buzzword stuff. But it's a complete disaster, honestly, in my opinion. It's 50% wrong across the board on any prompt you use on a lot of data, especially anything that's super like needs to be organized or very strictly intensive. So it's wrong. So it's not accurate. And we're starting to see that more and more and more every day. So it's very dangerous.
Yeah, that's yeah, that's dangerous. It's not only US but all over the world. And I have one question is interesting about the because usually when you talk about um, penetration tests or red team services, and usually some companies would like to propose those type of things to the CISOs or CSOs or whatever. So, and we are seeing the involvement with the White Knight Labs in the community perspective. So, how do you guys understand the importance for the White Knight Labs to be next to the community, like supporting the Red Team Village? And I saw that we have a kind of discount for the DEF CON as well. So, what your perspective about this community when you have another in this side you have a CISO, like the executive part of the companies, they should pay the check, and the other side you have the community guys, but those guys they will be responsible for doing the tests. So how you guys see those differences?
Yeah, that's a great question. And then it just comes down to like what we're trying to do. If we're trying to win a red team engagement, we're obviously we want to talk to a decision maker in that company. So VP, manager, director level, C-suite would be great. So that's usually not possible though. But then also on like the training side and working with the engineers, John and I are very passionate about like just bringing up the next generation. At one point in time, before I went into the military, my last job was being a substitute teacher. I love teaching.
I love to.
Yeah,
I'm a professor. I'm a professor as well. So,
are
like,
you really? What do you teach?
about malware analysis, offensive security,
Okay.
network security, cloud security, attack path, whatever, identity security, wherever you want. I'm here at Ready Hunting.
Okay. Very cool, man. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's
we have
me.
multiple courses on the market right now, and we're actually bringing 3 more courses to the market on Black Friday. So there's going to be
Oh,
one
that's
on
cool.
attacking GCP, Google Cloud Platform. I think there's a huge hole in the market because there's like Fortune 500 companies that are using GCP, and there's not a lot of talent that can actually knows how to harden, configure, secure, and attack GCP. So we're trying to fill that gap. And then, John, you want to talk about the ELPT, your
Yeah,
baby?
yep. So my baby. Yep. So that's a little penetration tester. I know a lot of you have been asking about it, still asking about it. So it's official, released before Black Friday. Basically, guys, if you're listening to this podcast, I love offensive security. And you guys, if you've been on my training, I hype on offensive security and everybody else. But I think there's a massive gap when it comes to building the next generation of junior pen testers. You've all heard
I
me talk
agree.
about this. So
Indeed.
I love the OSCP, but I think paying $1,800 just for the base of the certification is very expensive, and it's out of a lot of people's budget moving forward for the last 3 or 4 years. I think people should be able to pay $500 to be able to get a certification that gets them to a junior pen test level. And what does that mean? Taking you through the external, internal pen testing, everything possible we can. Web application, bypassing EDR, getting you introduction to C2, getting you introduction to cloud testing, getting you well-rounded where you can take an entry level or a junior pen test position. And what does that mean is I'm expecting if anybody was going to apply for a job at my company, they would have to pass the ELPT to be able to work for us. We have a very high bar, high standard, and we want to give that to the industry. We want to make sure everybody's very well rounded, and that is exactly what the ELPT is going to be. It should be affordable. It should be well versed and cover a lot of different areas that there's a lot of other certifications and competitors of ours are lacking in. You shouldn't have to take 9 certifications to get all the same training in one certification. And that's kind of my dream of what that's going to be.
So it comes to the one of my questions to you guys is about a suggestion or advice. So for the new generation of the red teamers out there, so what would you like to suggest or advise, especially if they are interested in the White Knight Labs, and in terms of course or like, because I'm just doing this question too because, for example, in Brazil we saw many guys just watching some kind of videos and they try just to copy and paste the comments, but they don't know anything about those bases like network things and system operation, web application. They don't understand how the flow of any application works and how they can hack the application. So, what your advice and suggestion, guys, in terms of the White Knight Labs and trainings, as you said?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I could suggest one thing. So the ELPT is awesome. When you're first getting into offensive security, get a taste of everything. Like do some cloud testing, go download Juice Shop and run it locally to do your OWASP top 10 stuff, all of your like SSRF and cross-site scripting, do some internal, external penetration testing, maybe do some mobile. However, after a certain period of time, you're going to want to start specializing in a couple of things. So you're not peanut buttering your time and effort trying to learn all the engineering domains, because that means that you're probably not going to be good at anything. So you're not going to be like the reverse engineer that also does mobile and EDR evasion and physical access operations. That person doesn't really exist that can do everything really well. So there's just too much information out there in offensive security. You have to pick something and then really sharpen the sword over and over again.
Yeah. And then I have a lot of people reach out to me about Red Team. Look, where do we start? What do we do? I've been a pen tester for 5 years. I haven't really exposed myself to C2. And I'm going to do something I haven't done for before, but we've kind of we've gone back and forth with 0 Point Security. They helped us out. We kind of helped them out. And, taking, certified Red Team operator, right, the first course, and then taking the ARTOC. That's a good combination. They also have the certified red team operator 2 as well.
Mm-hmm.
0 Point security courses are good. Our course is a little bit more advanced than the certified red team operator 1. So that's a great starting point for a lot of people. I don't know. I've taken the OSCP guys, and I don't know. I wouldn't. I think you can get better bang for your buck today on different courses. If you're looking for something direct, malware bypassing, understanding how a business operates from within inside is super important. Also having great, beacons, going through CDNs, tunnels, making sure you're not getting caught around those lines is very important as well. So,
yeah, and also like And understanding, like, if you're doing a full scope red team operation, there's more to that full scope red team operation than just bypassing EDR. Typically, a big skill set that is overlooked in the industry is physical access operations. This is a huge ask at WKL. And to this day, John and I are still hunting for people that can do physicals really well. They're hard to find. So the person has to be good technically with physical access tools like under the door tool, double door tool. Sometimes we have to fabricate tools on the fly. Like we'll go to Home Depot and get a long piece of steel, have to bend it into a certain configuration. You're up all night, like that, so they have to be wired to be able to do that. And then you have to be very good at lying. You have to be able to think on your feet. If that security guard stops by and like, hey, what are you doing? Oh, we're with IT. That actually happened a couple of physicals ago. Like there was me, John, and Todd. We were sitting upstairs. It was like an EMS provider, and the security guard just stops by and like, oh, who are you guys? And we're like, oh yeah, we're with fill in the blank with the POC that we knew at the company. And the guy just walked away. It was wild. So
it was totally a red flag, 100%, but
yeah,
it should never happened. But
so
we didn't get caught in that. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this, we're looking for people that can do physical penetration testing. We're looking for people that can do embedded penetration testing, and then iOS and Android mobile hacking as well. Because in the year 2025, no one specializes in mobile pen testing.
Yeah, that's true advice. And like some people came to me and reached me out to me and asking me about how they should specialize. And then the same question that I'm heard in the market. And I asked the guys, okay, do you understand something about Kubernetes, for example? Oh, I'd like to hack in the Kubernetes, but do you know how the Kubernetes works, really? So first you need to understand how this really works, how you should, apply those configurations. And after that, you can try to bypass those type of things and understand the flow, not only when you set some configuration or something like this. But very, very, very nice and very good advice. So for you guys, how is the impact when you talk about the military perspective, about this culture above the military, how you can apply this for the red team perspective in the White Knife Labs, concept? How do you put in this? How do you guys combine this military strategy for the red team perspective?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, we are a team of teams, so everyone is a subject matter expert in their field. That way, when we were able to do a full scoop red team operation, I could bring in someone that is really good at Kubernetes, or an embedded engineer, or a physical access operator, and that way we can build a world class team as opposed to someone that claims that they're good at everything. But then also, like we move very quickly here. A saying in Army Special Forces is speed, surprise, and violence of action. I would say like no company wants to be surprised and no company wants violence of action, but we do move very quickly. I would say that would be our violence of action. And then we also like very seamless, like streamlined communication with the client during actual engagements. So typically we'll do a Slack connect where there's me, John, the project manager on the WKL side, the client, and we're all working together in case we find like a higher critical vulnerability that needs to be remediated in real time. So much better than just emailing back and forth.
Thank you so much again for your time. I'm just like to open for final words and how the community can find you on not only the social media, or if you have any opportunity to work or any job or something or anything you'd like to say, the share is yours.
Yeah, there's a lot to say. So John and Jake will be at B-Sides Pittsburgh. And John, what are the dates for that? That's tomorrow, isn't it?
Tomorrow, July 11th, 2025.
Okay. I will be at CloudCon in Grand Rapids. That's July 28th at LMCU Ballpark. And they'll be at DEF CON for the RTV, and then we'll be at the RTV after party. What are the other events we have going on?
We have GERCon as well.
Yep, GERCon later this year in Grand Rapids.
I'll be at G2E as well in Vegas in October for the biggest casino conference. So I'll be at that one as well. And then there might be another B-Sides or another cybersecurity summit coming up later this year. I'm not sure which one we'll hit. But that's where you're going to find us in person. So for sure.
And then our Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, is WKL_cyber. You could hit us up at our website, just whiteknightlabs.com. If you want to look at all of our trainings, we have a training subdomain. It's just training.whiteknightlabs.com. And then we also have a Discord that's completely public that you can join as well.
Yep, we're building a small community, so please join it. It's open to everybody. So come join, come talk, have fun. So
Yeah.
Very cool.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much again for supporting the RTV. So we are super happy again to have you on board, and I hope to see you soon in person on DEF CON or RTV. And again, thank you so much for helping and supporting us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yep. Thank you.